This episode is brought to you by Fortis et Fidelis, honoring the brave and faithful service of our fallen. The free will never forget. Are you interested in creating your own podcast? If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. I'm your host, Raiden Denisio. And today I have with us John Krotec. John is an Army veteran. He is the founder of Green Zone Hero, which is an online community of businesses, organizations, and people that support freedom. Hashtag Planet, which is a sustained founding solution for nonprofits and NGOs using apparel activism as a driving catalyst. And is also a podcaster with the podcast Straight Out of Combat, sharing stories of our veterans as well. So without further ado, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Raiden. Thanks, man. Blessed to be here. You make me sound like I'm like the president or something. But thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And again, I can't say enough about the work that you do to let veterans like us, come on your show and share with your listeners the things that we've encountered and some of the things that we've done in our life. So thank you for that.
No worries, man. Like I said, I appreciate you for taking the time. Let's start off by, just talking about a little about your service and, how you joined the Army.
Okay, sure, man. I a little bit different from most. I went to college first.
Okay.
It took me, 5 years to get my 4-year degree, almost 6 years. I was a knucklehead. And then so I got my college degree and did that for a couple of years in corporate management. And I found out, Raiden, very early on that I was not, it wasn't me, man. I was not into the corporate lifestyle. And, I was 26 years old when I decided to enlist in the U.S. Army. Of course, I was born an Army brat. My dad was an Army officer, and I went that route. I went the NCO route and found myself 4 weeks into basic training, wondering what the hell had I done to have left a good paying job where my hair was longer, and I kind of called my own shots to being in the United States Army, right?
Right.
And so I ended up going into the Chemical Corps, the Army NBC, Nuclear Biological Chemical, and went to basic training at Fort Jackson, Tank Hill, and then went to Fort McClellan, Alabama, for my MOS training, military occupational specialty training in the chemical field. It was also the Army's military police post. And then I was attached to or assigned to the 4th Infantry Division at Fort Carson, Colorado. I did all of my military service and active duty was during peacetime. Grenada had just finished. This is the late 80s. Grenada had just finished, and there really was nothing else going on. So, I served out my time there. And at that time in the military, they had 2-year, 3-year, and 4-year enlistment. And, of course, I was interested in the Army College Fund to go back to get a master's degree. And so I had joined not only to serve my country, but to, benefit from those the college fund. So what happened was I ended up serving my 3 years. It was an awesome experience. I had the best chain of commands. I had the best people around me. Army taught me really great things about teamwork and about me, how we can get through and work together and overcome any obstacle. And you've heard this before, and I know your listeners have heard this about eating cheese, right? Well, I didn't eat cheese. I just did my job. And I always did my job to the best of my abilities. And because of that, my peers saw that. And I was blessed to leave the Army in just a 3-year period of time. And this is not bragging. This is just to be an example of how you get paid back when you excel. And, I left with 3 Army Achievement Medals, 2 Army Commendation Medals. And my last award was a medal called the MSM, the Meritorious Service Medal. And that was all peacetime. And again, I'm not bragging here. I'm just letting people know that the type of person that I am. I give it my all no matter what I do. And I think that's an example that we can utilize as leaders and as members of the community, the veteran community, to others around us. So anyhow, I got out, and my first sergeant called me within a few months, and I was an E5, and he said to me, "Hey, how would you like to come back in the service?" And I'm like, "Well, what's going on, right?" He says, "We got a line and a paragraph number, and let me give that to you. There's some interesting things taking place." And so I said, "Like what?" He says, "Well, I can't tell you, but we are painting the vehicles. We had tracks and we had trucks, and we're painting them for the desert." I said, "That sounds interesting." So I went down to the recruiter, gave the recruiter sergeant there the line and the paragraph number, and he succinctly told me, "We are not taking any prior service," which was very, very interesting. Well, this was just prior to Desert Storm. And so what they were doing was the Army was ramping up already for Desert Storm. And I didn't know that. So what I did was I decided to reenlist, and I went back into the Army Reserve System, and I was an NDC NCO attached to this 7th and the 9th Field Artillery, the 81st ARCOM here in Florida. And so I spent a year in the reserves. And at that time in 1990, it was much different than the reserves are today, from what I understand. To go from active duty to reserves then, somehow we didn't jive with the reservists. And so even though it was a great experience for a year, after a year, I decided that I'll just go into the IRR. At that time, Desert Storm had kicked off, and they were taking primarily active duty units. And so I went into the IRR and spent the rest of my time, 3 years in the IRR, before I finally got out. I don't know. That's kind of a long, and again, I want people to know that I'm not bragging about any of this. I just want them to know that when you excel, you get recognized by your peers. And that was the one thing that the Army really taught me, Raiden, was that it was an environment that rewarded people by merit and by what they knew. It had nothing to do with color or color of your skin or your religion or your gender or any of that. It was a wonderful experience to be recognized for the efforts that I put forth. And it's like that for everybody in the military, as you well know. There might be some examples where it doesn't happen quite like that. But for the most part, that was one of the most wonderful things that I liked about the military, is that your peers recognized you.
Yeah. I think to your point, from what you're saying, a lesson I got from one of my senior enlisted leader when I was a young, sailor, was no matter what job you have in the Navy or in the military in general, like, do it to the best of your ability. It doesn't matter if you're field daying and scrubbing the deck. Do it to the best of your ability, and you will be recognized. So that's a great point.
Well, I'm glad you made that point, because I guess it happens in all branches. And I was smoking and joking about the cheese eating. Of course, there are some people that just did things not necessarily. Anyhow, we won't go there. But thanks for recognizing that point. So yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it was an honor for me to serve the United States of America, and I really felt like I was part of a lineage and a brother and a sisterhood of Americans that understand commitment and duty and honor and all the things that people that don't understand might think it's kind of not worthwhile. But guys like you and me and many others believe that this country's worth defending. So, yeah.
So you also mentioned, on the form, one of your biggest takeaway in the military was how great America truly is. Can you go elaborate more on that?
Absolutely, man. I'm a Florida boy. My dad's from Pennsylvania. My mom is actually a Florida cracker, if you will. But we have a way of doing things down here, and it's just it's like that different all over the country. Whether you're coming from Detroit or Stockton, California, or Seattle or Washington, wherever you come from, you're kind of in the same boat in the military. And I was just fascinated. Of course, I went in at 26 years old. You're a little bit different than an 18-year-old, but I was fascinated by the different dialects and the people from all over the country that felt the way I did about our country. And this, right? It didn't really matter who or what or how you got there. The fact is that you did swear an oath. And so I was really, 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 really inspired by all of the people that I served with, because I knew that their hearts were a lot like mine. There might be some differences, but for the most part, everybody that I worked with in the military and have met since then, they just say it in a different way. And I thought to myself, what a great, great, great country to have this volunteer fighting force of people from all over the place, different backgrounds, who just patriots, people that really believed in something much greater than themselves. And even thinking back on it now, several years later, it might have seemed really, bothersome at the time, but to think about the ceremonies that we did and the times that we spent with the people we served, there really was more to it than just the topical view of it. It's really special, and it doesn't mean that we're better. We just look at things perhaps a little bit differently here about this great country. Again, you got me rambling on. I should have never had that coffee, but I'm good. I'm good.
No, it's all good, man. Love it. Love what I'm hearing, because at the end of the day, we all have one mission and we're all part of one team, and it doesn't really matter, where you come from or what color your skin is and things like that. We all have one mission to complete, and everybody gets it. Like, everybody comes together at the end of the day and completes it, no matter what.
Yeah, let me just elaborate real quickly. Three of the people that I served with, it was, here I am, this white kid, right? And then we had a guy that was Pakistani descent, and then we had another guy that was Puerto Rican, and another guy that was a African American, right? Those guys, one guy was from Brooklyn, the other guy was Queens or something like that in New York City. And then the other person was from like the California area. And of course I was a Southern boy, right? But whenever we went out, like, us four kind of hung together. And so here you got this white guy, this black guy, this Latin guy, and this Middle Eastern guy all hanging out together. I mean, where are you going to see that, man? And we just, I would do anything for those guys, and they would do anything for me. And as a matter of fact, the Puerto Rican guy and the black guy might have been enemies in New York City. I don't know, but those guys were as tight as, ticks on a hound dog. Those guys would do anything for you. And you just don't see a lot of that out here in the civilian world. So I didn't want to say any of their names, but they know who they are if they ever, find the show. But I'll never forget those guys. They're brothers of mine forever. So, yeah, where does that happen, man?
Yeah, only in the military.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So, we talked a little bit about your service. After you left the Army the second time, how was your transition? How was that transition from the service, and what led you to eventually what you're doing now?
Yeah, great question, Raiden. Thank you for that. My transition, it was different than what's going on these days. I think we've been at war and conflict in a couple of places for the last 20 years. And so you have a lot more transitioning veterans dealing with different issues, and there's just a lot more. When I got out, there really hadn't been any major conflicts going on for any, it was all smaller stuff. But also, that being said, you were probably more of an island back when I got out, because there weren't as many services available for transitioning veterans or people out there that were willing to help. So what I immediately found out was finding veterans was few and far between. There were no real networks set up. There was a hospital up the road here, a VA hospital, but there really wasn't all the things you see, like your podcast show. This helps people, and there wasn't a lot of, and we've got so many veteran nonprofits and so many veteran startups. We didn't have all of that back when I got out. So I don't know if it's better or worse. We just had to, every time you could find somebody back in the day that could speak the language, they stuck out more. But now that seems like if you're a veteran and you're transitioning, there are so many people out there and organizations that want to help you. So I would just say it was more of an island back then, and there's a lot more available now. So my transition, of course, I got out when I was 30 years old, and it was a little bit different. I think that when you get out when you're younger, and plus I'm not a combat veteran, and I think that throws a different set of issues or circumstances that you might have to deal with. But what I did was I got reunited with an old girlfriend that I hadn't seen in like 12 years. And of course, a lot had happened. She had been married and divorced and had 2 children, and still really wasn't sure what if I wanted a family or anything like that. But we hit it off, and we fell right into a pretty good groove. And before you know it, we opened our first business together. And we opened a backpacking and camping and adventure travel store here in the west coast of Florida. And we did that for 23 years. I led guided trips to the Andes for about 12 of those years. And we just really had a really, really good time. We did everything: the hiring, the firing, the merchandising, the product research, we marketing, we just did it all. And we were very blessed to have 22 out of 23 successful years in that business. But we didn't get any, we did it all on our own. It was a small investment in the outset, and it ended up being very successful in the long run. And I would have to say that I used a lot of my Army motivation and skill sets about just accomplishing tasks. Helped me a great deal just setting the company up. And of course, I relied on some of my business college degree as well, but it was just the perfect storm. And we just got into a business at the right time, and there was a need here locally, and it was a great journey. It's being a small business owner for 23 years. And then life kind of took a turn. I was involved in a traffic accident in 2012, and I suffered a minor TBI, traumatic brain injury, but it led to some interesting circumstances. It forced the sale of our business. It percolated some demons from a childhood assault that I had not really dealt with. And then found myself very quickly involved in a divorce. And then I worked through that. I was one of those guys that actually called the crisis center and didn't really want to be here. And honestly, she talked me off the ledge, the lady on the other end. I got the help that I needed, and then worked really hard to save my marriage. And then I wanted to give back. I wanted to develop a company that helped others, and I wanted to still be in the veteran circle somehow. So we created Green Zone Hero, which is an online directory of businesses and organizations and people who support freedom. And people go, well, what's that mean? Well, we give you tools to sell your intrinsic value and let the world know what your core values are as a company. And so if you hire veterans or hire disabled veterans, or you give to veteran organizations, or you're veteran owned, or you give special discounting to veteran shoppers and clients, then we want you to be in our network. It's a paid subscription, business to business. We're 4.5 years into that. We've got a little over 700 members. And of course, COVID's been real tough. So some of our largest supporters have been Harley Davidson and Mission Barbecue, and Sam Ash Music has been real good. And we've just had a good run of it so far. We're not going anywhere. We have a new website launch coming soon, we hope. That's been going okay. And then, of course, I did the podcast, Straight Outta Combat Radio, and that was because I'm tired of the negative stereotyping of our veterans, and especially combat veterans. So that show is to eliminate the negative stereotype of veterans. And I got to tell you, Raiden, you're a podcaster, man. You meet some of the most interesting people, and every interview motivates me even more and makes me, cements even more in my mind how great this country is. And then recently we launched hashtag Planet. We've heard the word this year about activism, right? And all the activists that are doing all these things that aren't necessarily good for society. So we wanted to put a new spin on activism, and we wanted to create what we're calling apparel activists. Our client base are NGOs and nonprofits who we want to get their messages out there through apparel. A hashtag, their slogans on our shirt, the logos on the sleeves, very similar to some of the other companies that are out there. But our clients are NGOs. And then their donors visit their online stores with hashtag Planet, purchase products from us through us, and then we give them X amount of dollars monthly reconciliation. We're working out some glitches with that right now. It's the digital world, but it's working real great. We have 20 nonprofits who've joined us. I got to tell you, Veterans Path, John McCaskill and his group out in Colorado, and they've done really well. And we love all of our clients. They I can't. There's a lot of them. Operation Breakthrough, 22andU with John Preston. Just too many to even talk about right now, but they're all good. So I would suggest visit hashtagplanet.co. It's not a .com, it's a .co. Check out the nonprofits that are on there. And then in the meantime, as part of the way that I dealt with, childhood assault was to write poetry. So I've been writing poems since I was like in the fifth grade, and I've got thousands and thousands and thousands of poems. And because I was home during COVID, I was able to write a couple of books. My first one came out in late March of this year. It's called Fractals, Poetic Journey of Acceptance. And then the other book just came out yesterday called Freedom Punch, Poetical Indictment of the Political Status Quo. That one's a little bit harder hitting. It's dealing with the things that we've been witnessing this year. But so I've had two books, and then we're driving forward on some other. I've got the Aho Radio Network on YouTube, Authentic Human Outliers. Bill Stockman is my co-host, and I'm his co-host too, I guess. But that's going real well. We're just having authentic conversations with human beings that are trying to make the world a better place. So that's a lot. You get me going. You ask the question. I'm doing a lot. I stay busy. My whole mantra is just help wherever we can and do the best you can do. And that's all we can do really as human beings is be grateful for who we are and where we come from, and realize that America is still a beacon to others in the rest of the world. Unalienable rights, all those things that I know, like they're near and dear to my heart. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love it, John. I love what you're doing with Green Zone Hero and your podcast. Basically just highlighting, like you said earlier, it's part of my mission too. Is just providing a positive reflection of our military veterans and our active duty service members, instead of this, the negative things that you always hear in the news. So with that all being said, you're doing a lot of things. You're providing a lot of value. What's been, I guess, like the most trying or most difficult time you've experienced, in your many business ventures?
Great question, brother. Let me tell you, man, and everybody knows we're in the digital world, right? So people out there can be anything. Businesses can be anything. It can be illusory at times. And so I have found that there are companies and people out there that aren't, I'm not going to say they're nefarious, but they may not have the core value sets that you have. So before you get in any strategic partnership or work with anybody, make sure that you do your homework, because I got to tell you and tell your listeners, I've lost tens of thousands of dollars and lost time working with people and companies that aren't what they say they are. And I'm not going to name any names, but I will name some names of some people you can count on. Otis McGregor, Special Forces operator, I think 25 years in service. I think he got out as a field grade officer major. He is doing some incredible things with the LTO enterprises out in Colorado. Dan Dwyer with Vet to Biz. He is also a great mentor. Awesome. Chris Hoffman's doing some cool things. That guy is a fast tracker Marine. He's getting things done. Pete Turner on the West Coast, Army brother, who is great in the podcasting world. I mean, and John Preston, there's so many guys out there that are doing things that you can count on them. And if they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. And so just do your homework. Don't believe everything that you see or hear in the digital world. Ask around. And even like today with Ryan Hunt and the Veteran Social Summit that's happening today, that we'll be doing later on today. But Ryan Hunt's doing some great things, and there's a lot of good people out there doing things. Just look for them, and you'll attract them. Don't just jump on the first glittery cake that you see. Just investigate a little bit, because there's some. Don't make the same mistakes I did. And by the way, you're going to make mistakes, and if you do make a mistake, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and just drive on. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, I can testify to that. Like what you were saying is just making sure you fact checked everything, whoever you want to work with or collaborate with. Because like you said, we've made our mistakes and and errors and things like that. But just like you said, man, just keep moving forward.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting too that kind of caught me off track from coming from the old school business is how many people want money up front. And yeah, that's great. I mean, it's really good because you want to work with them, and you're very hopeful. But sometimes when you get money up front, and if it's not segmented out or it's not done on where certain benchmarks aren't met, it's real tough sometimes to get the work out of them or even to get your money back. And without the work being performed, and who has the money to litigate, even for the amounts that you might have been taken for. But again, you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, chalk it up to experience, and try not to put anything negative out there, because I got to tell you, man, there's some people out there that I don't even know how they're getting by. That's all I can say.
Yeah, most definitely. So, for those of you guys just joining in, talking to John Krotec, founder, veteran advocate, podcaster, author. He's doing a lot of things. So, John, can you give our audience one actionable step that they can take right now to pursue?
Absolutely. Believe in yourself, and you know how that starts. Just walk in. It's very simple. You can do it right now when you get done listening to Radin's show. You just walk into the bathroom, wherever you got a big mirror. It might not even be in the bathroom. It could be somewhere else. But look at that person in the mirror. This is actionable. Look at that person in the mirror, and you let that person know how spectacular they are. You let that person know that you believe in them. You let that person know how much you appreciate them. That single act every single day, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say those things and believe them, that's the first step in going out there and leading a fulfilled life, because you're going to walk a little bit taller and you're going to believe in yourself. And that's probably the simplest actionable step you can take, is believing in yourself and telling yourself that. And you can do it right now. Like I said, you might have a listener or two right now, Radin, that are doing it, but it works. And I learned that little technique, that actionable act, in my therapy when I was working, dealing with my own personal issues. And a lot of times if you can boost your self-esteem by these daily acts, you're going to go a lot further. Yeah.
I love it, man. Accountability, Mayor. Look yourself and evaluate yourself and be honest with yourself. What your strengths and your weaknesses are, and
good point, man. And you just know your weaknesses. And the cool thing is, I'm glad you even brought that word up. The cool thing is the converse of weakness is strength. And if you focus on your strengths, this is kind of weird, man. I don't even know if this is quantum physics or what this is, but if you focus on your strengths and you do actionable acts on those, the weaknesses just go away. And Raiden, I got to tell you, man, I've read that in some books out there, and they say focus on your strengths, the weaknesses will go away. Or if they don't go away, at least you're going to be aware of them.
Right. And whatever you're weak at, you don't have to go at it alone. You can find somebody that that could be their strong suit. Well, in the military, we don't do things ourselves. Everything is accomplished as a team. So find the teammate, find a buddy.
Absolutely,
that can help you out.
Yeah, good point. And I like the fact, go out there and find the team. There are people out there that can do things that we can't do. And they want to help, generally speaking, but do your research, do your homework, and look for the right team, because the right team can do a lot of good in the world. Yeah,
most definitely, man. So John, what's one thing you want our listeners or viewers to take away from this?
Just a belief in self, a belief that you can, take those strengths that Raiden and I were just talking about and come up with a vision, come up with a plan. Everybody knows or has an idea of what they want to do in their life, and think about it. Sit down and think about what's the plan, what's the vision for your life, and realize it's not going to happen overnight. Somebody told me the other day, the road to success has the stepping stones of failures all over it. So those failures, if you learn from them, and a failure is not a failure, it just means you made a mistake. But if you learn from them and you realize that it's okay to make a mistake, just don't keep making the same one a million times, that you're going to eventually get to the promised land, which is success. And success means different things to different people. Just because so-and-so has a Porsche doesn't mean that's what you need in your life. Or so-and-so has the next fancy toy, and know what your core value sets are and know what's really important to you. If those things are important, go for them. It's your life. Make it your life. And so those, I'm taking the John and Misty Butcher workshop program with my wife, John and Misty Butcher, through the Mind Valley, Bishan Lakiani, and what he says in life and business, eliminate, delegate, or automate. And I think that's some great advice. How often are we hanging out with the people that may not be the people we need to hang out with? Eliminate that. One of the big things he talks about too is eliminating negative thought. And it's so easy to fall into these negative thought dark holes, what we call the abyss, the dark side of the soul, because we're inundated with it all the time. Oh my gosh. You got to be scared of this. You got to be scared of that. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And we're inundated with negativity like a lot of the time. Turn that stuff off and start thinking positive thoughts. Start, surrounding yourself with the right team. So eliminate things that are not good or negative, and then delegate. You just hit upon it, Raiden. If it's something you don't know, find somebody that knows and delegate that power to them or that task. And then automate. We live in the most opportunistic time in modern history because of the technological tools that we have. But use them for something that's humane and good, not something that's nefarious and manipulative. Maybe develop a company that you can use these tools, automate your company or whatnot, to do something that's actually positive for people in the planet. So get rid of negativity, get with the right people, and do something positive. Yeah.
Love it, man. Love it, John. So, John, coming up to our second segment of the show here. This is where I ask the same 5 questions I ask my guests.
Yeah. You know me, brother.
So,
I'm
John,
ready.
you ready? All right. So, first question, man. What's one hobby?
Well, I used to do a lot of
enjoy?
mountain climbing, and I haven't been able to do that much lately, but mountain climbing, and I do a lot of writing now. I like to write poetry and those kinds of things, but I'm always, involved in something. Writing is probably it right now.
And then second question, if you had to choose one person, dead or living, to hang out with for one day, who would it be?
Well, I thought about that. You asked me that before, but I thought about my dad's been gone for like 12 years now. And I think I'd like to hang out with him for a day.
Okay.
Because I'd like for him to see where I'm at now from where I was at 12 years ago. So, yeah, hang out with my dad for a day. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And next question, recommend a book for
Well, you know what? That's a great question. I can't say enough about books, but I had a friend send me one recently from California. And the title of the book is Owning Your Own Shadow. And the subtitle is Understanding the Dark Side of the Psyche. And it's written by a guy, the author's name is Robert A. Johnson. I'm not giving any of it away, but I will say this. It's only 118 pages long, and it's a very interesting read about personal development and about the state of affairs on the planet, and it's historical as well. So it's kind of an interesting book. Check that one out.
Owning Your Own
Shadow by Robert Johnson. Robert A. Johnson.
Okay. All right, might have to check that out. All right, so next question. I don't know if I
got it quite right, but a good plan executed violently right now is better than a perfect plan, executed next week. And it's the General George S. Patton quote. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes, you've heard this before, paralysis by analysis. And, Patton was a guy, he was a hard charger, for those of you know the history. And he was he was a soldier's general. I mean, maybe. And he, get out there and just get something going, execute. I have my own thing about that real quick. And I know we're getting close to the end here, but I say success, E equals MS squared divided by B. And MS squared is mindset. Mindset is vision and execution divided by belief. That's what success is. And it's kind of like what Patton probably believed was like, just get out there and do it. The only way you're going to make something happen is to just do it. Quit talking about it and do it. Yeah. I love that quote.
Take action, because you'll never know what will happen if
never know.
If you don't take action, you'll never know. All right. So John, where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years
the past is gone, so we all try to not think about the past, and then the future is not yet written. We're writing the future every single day. I'd like to see myself writing some more books. I'd like to see myself becoming a speaker somewhere to motivate people. But I've also would like to just help nonprofits on a massive scale and people as well, to where we're in a place so elevated that we're helping to increase the social consciousness of the world. And, I still have a firm faith and belief in God and also in this country. And I still believe that the United States of America is the greatest experiment in the history of the world. And the only reason it's that way is because of the people that love it. And I just hope in 5-10 years from now, America's still here and that I'm surrounded by people that love me and people that I love. That's where I'd like to be.
Love that message, man. Love it. John, this has been a great episode. You dropped some great value to our audience, and for those of you that are listening. Just one last thing. Where can our audience follow and
buy my book. Go to the first one's Fractals. The next one is Freedom Punch. That's me personally, but to help out our customers, shop Green Zone Hero customers. There's only 700 companies that have joined us, but if you're in an area where there's a Green Zone Hero company or business, utilize them because they care about you. That's greenzonehero.com. Also, #planet.co. If you're a nonprofit or an NGO representative and you'd like to join the Apparel Activist Network, then contact us through that portal, and we would love to have you on and spread the word about your mission and create some sales and revenue streams and just, make the world a better place. And then right to you, the listeners, if you've made it this far through this episode, thank you for that. And thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. It means a lot.
Well, I appreciate the time, John. Like I said, I know you added some great value for our audience to take action after this episode. And
absolutely, Ray. Keep going, man. Have a great holiday. Stay safe and be well, brother. Thank you.
All right. Take care, John.
Hey, man. I hope that's a good show for you.
Right.
And appreciate you. I know we hadn't talked, probably been over a year now, huh? Yeah. How did we link up? I know it was through LinkedIn, but somebody said we needed to talk to each other or something.
Well, I know you mentioned Dan and Chris. I've had Chris on the show before. And I've spoken to Dan on the phone quite a few times in the past.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He really is. Chris is a good guy too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not, honestly, I don't know. It might have been.
Well, that's cool. If you need anything, let me know. If you know any nonprofits that might want to join our network, like I said, we're working out some some kinks right now, and we're just trying to just make things happen. So thank you for that. And
have you heard of
Project I have not.
Fit? Let me I just had them on the show not too long ago. I can forward you their info. And kind of
just send me the links when you get done, and I'll blast all this out everywhere.
Yeah. We'll do, brother. And if you know anybody else that would be interested to be a,
yeah. Do you have a one pager, Raiden? Did you do a one pager? Send me a one pager about the show if you've got one. Yeah, send that, and then I can circulate. Man.
Okay, we'll do. All right, awesome, John. Hey, I know you're gonna be busy.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon, man. Merry Christmas.
The time.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Hey everyone, Raiden here. I just want to thank you for listening to our podcast, and make sure you guys go check out our website, fortis-fidelis.com. Again, that's fortis-fidelis.com, and learn how you can help us support in providing these memorial coins to the families of the fallen. And make sure you guys go follow our social media on Facebook, FRTS FDLS. Again, that's FRTS FDLS. And on Instagram and Twitter at FRTS_FDLS. Again, that's FRTS_FDLS. And make sure you guys go subscribe, review, and leave a comment on our podcast on all the podcast platforms. Till then, take care.